on, everybody? This is Chris Classic dropping the car vlog. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Nobody tells you that God loves you, Christ loves you, and I love you as well. Praying that you guys have a wonderful day. If you don't go to church today, be the church, which means love somebody, pray for somebody, come to them with love. If you have to correct them and judge righteously, that's also in the Bible. Do that as well. So make sure you love and serve somebody. Make sure you subscribe to the Taking Home podcast, where I talk about professional wrestling topics. And I put up my matches as Classic out for a professional wrestler of 13 years. You can see my matches on the channel as well. Make sure you also subscribe to C3 Ultimate Wrestling. That is me and my wife's professional wrestling company that we will be getting back August 30th. The Team C3 versus Team Board winner take all. It's a lot of great matches, 5 great matches. August 30th in Dyer, Indiana, Harold's private venue at the 11th hour. Tickets for the 11th hour are on Eventbrite now. Currently, they are $5 off, but there will be $5 more at the door bars. Me being a wrestler, I've seen like a lot of stuff, and I think me starting wrestling and then also seeing the transition of how social media is used and everything like that, and the internet wrestling community, IWC and stuff. Like, don't get me wrong, like when I first started, it was here. Now I feel like it's more because there's more social media platforms. People have their own podcasts that have no studio. They could just talk on their phone like I do for the majority of the time and get thousands and millions of followers and subscribers and views off of stuff like that. So with that being said, you know, with the business being as exposed as it is, there are a few words that I don't like to talk to fans about, or people who are watching wrestling, or even fans of mine, right? I don't like certain words. I don't like saying wrestling is that F word. I don't even like using marks and stuff like that, because there's certain degrees to it. Is one, some people use it as endearment, and then some use it as a derogatory remark for somebody, you know, so like that N word. But anyway, still, but one of the ones that I've been not feeling, and I've been hating for the past few years, is creative control. Oh my gosh, so many people say creative control. Creative control is this wrestler has creative control over their career. This wrestler held this wrestler back because of creative control. This person left a company because they had no creative control. Creative control, creative control. Everything is creative control. Jeez, man. Everybody named Mama got something to say about creative control. And I feel like that is the most overused term. More than Mark. Probably not more than Mark, but still, jeez, man. Look, obviously, I'm not going to say a whole bunch of stuff because I like keeping some of the stuff behind the curtain. But I'm going to speak on a few things, right? And I feel like I'm even giving too much here, but I'm going to. You know, just because a wrestler you don't like and despise wins a championship or wins other championships, it doesn't technically mean that they have creative control. It doesn't mean that they're throwing their weight around. Flip side, maybe they do have it. Now what? Can it hurt the business? Yes. Can it help it thrive? Yes. I was about to say most. Some use it as a coping mechanism to just be like, I hate this person so much, they have to have creative control. And sometimes that's just not the case. Now, I will say this. Wrestling and contracts is way different than what it used to be back in the day. People would sign a contract and then a company say, hey, go do this. And you can either do it or not do it and stuff like that. And then sometimes they'll let you go or they'll sue you for it. Now, when these wrestlers sign contracts, they have contingency plans, they have deals, they have certain things, and they are mapping out their career because, let's be honest, the wrestler is a brand. You may, if you go to a company and they give you a name or whatever like that, you represent that brand, but you yourself is a brand. You're promoting yourself. You're saying you're a great wrestler or possibly trying to learn to be a great wrestler. You are a brand or whatever like that. Nowadays, with companies and people making a name for themselves on the independents and in other companies before they go to opposite companies, they are having contracts to where they're getting paid more. They're getting paid upfront. Some are getting paid half, and then they'll get their back end. Some are protecting their endorsement deals, their sponsorships, and all of that stuff. Now, can creative control be a part of that contract? Sure. Or maybe there's something that they're trying to protect themselves. You know what I'm saying? That's very important when you're doing contracts and when you're negotiating, that you are protecting yourself. Know your worth, right? So sometimes when it is somebody that you don't like or some, despise, it's like, oh, when they start winning, it is creative control. Now, there is a difference between creative control and politics. And I do think when most say creative control this, creative control that, they are mixing up creative control in politics, right? Triple H, y'all love him, right? Politics. Yeah, he's the COO, creative and stuff now, but a lot of the stuff he did back in the day, politics. Vince, creative control, owner of the company, politics. He had his group, he had his stooges, all of that stuff. He was the only one with the creative stuff. It was his company. It's his decision to do certain things at a time. Now, no longer, but still, I'm just saying. Some of it is politics. So, Triple H sees a guy, I'm just using him as an example. This guy's supposed to, be the next big thing. And then Triple H say, hey, he's not the next big thing. He said something because of this and that. Especially if you can't even prove it. As more of pettiness in politics over creative control. It's not saying that Triple H has creative control. Triple H is a multiple time champion, over 10. People call his championship reigns the Reign of Terror. And this was around the time that people knew that he was married to Stephanie McMahon, Vince's daughter. And some people would be like, oh, well, he had creative control over this and stuff. No, it was politics more than anything. I personally don't think that the Triple H needed to have, 13, 14 championship reigns. I felt that there was no need for that, honestly. I felt that, maybe 5 or 6 or whatever. I mean, The Undertaker is 4, 5, 6 time champion or whatever. But to have Triple H is like a 13, and a lot of people's like creative control because he's Vince's son-in-law and all of this other stuff. And don't get me wrong, he eventually got stuff for like NXT and stuff, but it's like politics. Sometimes people's rise is halted or they're released and stuff like that because of politics. I think too many people try to say creative control and stuff. Mercedes Moné is a perfect example. So we all know that she's going on with Beast Mortos. I hope I'm saying his name right. So like he started getting like bigger looks and bigger plates, and people's like, oh, she used creative control so her boyfriend could get bigger plates. And to me, I thought it was dumb because AEW randomly has their champion go against people who are not even in title contention. They randomly go against each other. And like I spoke about it before, we saw Bryan Danielson go against Lee Moriarty. Not saying Lee Moriarty isn't like on his level, but we know that Bryan is a champ, is top tier Hall of Famer and stuff like that. And they was doing this on free TV with no build up. So now you upset that Mercedes is getting a lot of stuff and having some of her way. Now it's creative control. No, that is politics. Hey, why don't you push my boo? Politics. Politics, creative control. Creative control, obviously, is like you can control certain things. You want to do certain things. People think about Hulk Hogan. They think about Kevin Nash and Scott Hall and WCW. Stuff like that. Creative control. Even like controlling the cap for earning. Hey, we're going to get all of this money. And if you bring anybody else in here, I'm going to get as much money as them. That kind of stuff, and their contracts and negotiations and stuff like that. If anything, if a wrestler does have creative control and you're mad at that, be mad at the person that said, okay, you have it. Be mad at the Tonys and the Triple H's and all that. Be mad at them for deciding that situation. But I do think that creative control is definitely something that is overused as terminology. Creative control and stuff. It's more politics than anything. You know what I'm saying? Creative control is something that some wrestlers can have. I will say that. But I don't think everything is creative control. Mercedes Moné, going back to her, she won a lot of belts. She won the TBS championship, and then she won like the NJPW Strong Star from Willow. And then she started winning other belts from other companies. I don't even know. I'm not going to try to remember. But all of a sudden, people got mad at her. Oh, creative control. She wants herself to be like this and stuff like that. And it's just like, y'all probably couldn't even name 3 of the belts outside of the 2 I just named that she had won. It's just that you just don't like her that much and stuff. And you call her Mercedes Hogan and all of that. Oh, she's she's winning and she's not losing to people. Now, when she lost to Toni Storm, a lot of people haven't said much about it. They haven't said nothing like, oh, well, creative control and this and that. I don't like certain things, and I dang, they don't even like speaking about this situation. Like, even Swerve Strickland, right? They were saying that a lot of people, like, they were saying Sting, they wanted Sting to be a champion, and Sting turned it down, and that's how Swerve came in, because everybody started loving Swerve and doing the dance and whose house, and then it was like Swerve was supposed to lose to Will, but then Will decided, nah, Swerve is doing good. Oh my, Swerve's championship reign is due to the mercy of a guy that they was going to give the belt, and they're going to give the belt to in the future. I don't know when, but still, sure, creative control, you can say that, but some of it is just politics. Hey, I don't like this guy because of this and that. Okay, this guy said this and that. Hearsay, not even proof. Politics. Difference between politics and creative control. And I do think that a lot of people just take it easy on the word creative control, man. Just take it easy. Like some wrestlers, I remember Pac and when AEW, I believe, first started, or was it the All In event? He was telling them that he couldn't lose any matches because he was a champion somewhere else. That's somewhat of a creative control and a political move. But it is more of creative control because you're telling this company, hey, I can't lose because of this and that. And they let him have it. They gave it to him. But everything is not creative control. Sometimes it is just politics. And that's fine. Jeez, I just don't like the word creative control because I think people throw it around so loosely, and it's bad enough we even talking about these kind of terminologies, you get what I'm saying? But still, everything is just not that, you know, and if some wrestlers have it, sometimes people know how to use it and how to make it benefit for the sake of professional wrestling. Sometimes it's not just alpha self, and sometimes the politics, even of it is, they're trying to protect the brand. This person is unsafe, so maybe you need to watch this. Politics. You can say somebody politic their way to the top. You can say people did creative control or whatever, but most of the time it's politicking. It's politicking. Hey, I got this pull. Why not this and why not that? We talked about the Britt Baker situation where it seemed like she had a little political back stuff with the women stuff and all of that. We've heard these kind of stories before, politics and stuff and creative controls and stuff. And it's like, y'all was real, a lot of people was real quiet when it came out that, like, what, Cody, the Bucks, and Kenny and them was like EVPs for AEW. Like, a lot of people wasn't talking about politics this and politics that. And then when they started winning championships, some people wasn't even saying it. People move the goalposts when it comes to certain things when they're talking about creative control and who runs this and who runs that. That's how I feel. So let me know what you guys think about this creative control narrative of a lot of things and stuff like that. And like I said, blame the company that signed these people and let them have this creative control that some of y'all think they have. Blame them. Oh, why don't you just run your company? You know, I've said so many a times, Tony needs to learn how to just run his company and stuff instead of listening to some people, because I do think that some of these storylines is what's making these ratings not be great. Because of these storylines. Some people don't want to see these kind of storylines and stuff like that. And I do think more towards like Moxley and the Death Riders and stuff like that, that's not politics. That's creative control. And I think that it was horrible. And Moxley, you could tell, was upset that people wasn't feeling the story. That's Moxley's fault. That's Tony's fault for continuing to do it. Championship belt should never be in a bag. For so long. Should never be in a bag. The story that y'all was doing, it made no sense. So Moxley is the heart and soul of AEW. Sure, we can give him that, but that does not mean that he is very good creative with stories, because what the heck is going on? And this is coming from a match that people said they liked. But to me, I don't really care for a match like that, because Moxley does these kind of things already. So I don't know what the Death Rider story is supposed to do. Was it supposed to help Claudio? Was it supposed to help elevate Wheeler Yuta? Was it supposed to help Marina be like a legit person who does MMA, who beats up guys? You couldn't tell me, but that's a good example of creative control basically being messed up. People wanted to see a new champion, and that's, people are happy to see Hangman win, But at the same time, I think they would have cheered for anybody because they were just sick of the story because it didn't mean nothing. When you was teaming up with the Young Bucks who was owning the company, it made no sense and stuff like that. And then Moxley isn't like, it made no sense. But still, what do you guys think of this creative control and the narrative? Do you think too many people use it? Do you think less people should use it? Let me know. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Chris Classic. Let's take it home.